issues, first clear your cache, and then if there are really ongoing issues, can you email us please at puffpuffpass@stonercats.com. We're doing a bunch of stuff on our back end here, and if there are ongoing things that people are still having viewing problems, please let us know. I know Maria posted a potential ledger workaround in Discord a little bit ago, but we will also be updating the website with basic instructions for like help on this both screen mirroring as well as wallet connect and other issues. So we'll be updating the site as we find things that you can jump in and take a look at all of that. But then let's talk about fun episode 2 stuff, guys.
We'll get the hamster back on the wheel.
Also, we have Corn and Alan from GhostBot, and of new face Dan Jupe. We want to introduce to you. He came aboard. We hired him to help us moving forward to storyboard episodes. But Dan is a fantastic animator back from Disney. We worked together on Toy Story 2 at Pixar, and he ended up immediately on his first day being moved from episode 3 to doing character layout on the episode you just saw. So I wanted to introduce him to you. He did great work.
Thank you, Ash.
Dan saved our butts, basically, is
Yes,
the short summary of
that's the
that
subtext there.
Yeah, we're like, we got episode 2 in the bag. We're just going to move on and do future stuff. Oh my God, it's a giant bonfire. We need everyone's help. That's how that went.
Yeah, that's about right.
But his stuff is really awesome. I had mentioned before, like for me, I've been doing animation for a minute, but most of it's been 3D animation. So I'm still, super new to the 2D process. And it's crazy how integral the layout process is. Like in 3D, it's a little bit medicinal. Like it's important, but it's kind of hard to get, to read the creative intent dies in the layout process in 3D, whereas it comes to life in the layout process in 2D, I think. And Dan's drawings were so amazing right off the bat. And matching Ash's style and then adding to it. So all credit to Dan. I'm as genuinely impressed as I'm capable, which is more than I'm emoting because it's early.
Thanks, Chris.
Billy cries before noon.
Noon is my 8 a.m. So
maybe should we just open right up to questions? I love just either. Oh, I guess we got a list. We can maybe start there, and then if anybody wants to turn on their mics, we can do that too.
Just talk shit for however long we have.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys, how did it feel yesterday to get to be experiencing watching everybody watch your stuff? I want to hear all of it.
It's cool. I mean, I was hoping to find a live stream on Discord, like we had on the pilot, where everybody, it kind of dropped at one moment, and then I remember reading along live as everyone watching it was commenting, and that was a lot of fun. I couldn't find the same
Oh no, you missed it
yesterday.
Oh, we were Snacks had hosted. He played episode 1. Yeah, he played episode 1, and then he played 2 twice, and then that's how we ended up then after in a 3-hour marathon chat session for those who were there.
Oh well, thanks Snacks for setting that up.
Yeah,
I remember joining late, but
it was weird because we've been working so hard, the whole team, that we've been so into it that we kind of forgot about the audience experience. So watching people watch it just as content and not as a review was like, oh, right. This is just the entertainment part, which was weird. But then it was like, oh yeah, this is the whole point of doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed the whole thing. I fell asleep.
Yeah, Chris worked a couple hours.
I had about
Sunday morning.
3.5 hours sleep. And we were just sort of crazy burning. And then I was like, once it was done, I was like, walk the dog, feed myself, do all that stuff, sit down on the couch. And then I was like, I didn't realize I fell asleep and how much time it was. I actually thought it was later because here it's getting dark really early. And I was like, oh shit, what did I miss? What happened? I hope nothing broke. And then I joined the voice thing half awake last night.
To be fair, I think that's on brand too, because on the first one, you went for a run and then the drop happened. And then you came back and you're like, what did I miss? Like genuinely, you were like, what did I miss? And I was like, well, sit down. Got wild. But there's some questions in the form. Lisa, there's one about, I don't know if you're in it, but the one that I asked you about earlier. No? All right.
You want me to answer that question?
Yeah, if legally
guys-
we're allowed.
Okay,
Just give the
raise
answer,
your
but
hand.
not the question.
How many people want a hash panda as the next drop? I see some. Yeah. Okay. 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 That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see hands raised. Okay. We have a lot of we have a couple things that we're talking about, and that's one of them. Great.
Good. We need the feedback.
But we won't keep you in the dark long. I promise.
Yeah. So let's ask the first question, and it's a segue question from J. Nayway Ray, which is fun to say. Was asking if we're all working remotely, and if remote, how do we feel about the remote creative processes compared to working in a room? Yes, we were all remote, all of us. Ghostbot, Corinne and Alan are up in San Francisco, and we're all based in LA and outskirts of. But we are still all remote, and I think we just sort of got used to the work from home that everybody else is doing. We're just like, this is the way that we do it now. There's a couple times where we met up and we got coffee or something, and we still just we just have this knack to just like jump off point and just go into writer's room without even trying. So it doesn't feel like remote is a blockade per se for this type of work. I mean, that's my opinion, but I don't know how you guys all feel about that as well.
Yeah, it's become natural to just do what we're doing now. I think the only thing I miss is in a physical writer's room, you get the big whiteboard, and it's a lot easier to have the space to organize, a bunch of thoughts, and to cram all that down into a tiny screen is a bit tougher when you're trying to look at the through lines from episode to episode. And I think it's the only big downside. And there are plenty of people trying to make virtual tools, but I've never found one that really comes close to the analog.
It's not the same. That squeaky whiteboard marker just hits different.
Yeah.
I've got a fake whiteboard now that I just put up back there, stuck to the wall. Haven't used it yet because it's too busy doing what we're doing now. But at some point, I think working remotely would be more challenging for a first-time team. After Space Jam, I helped out on a show called Toto at Warner Brothers, and I didn't know anyone on that show. And I kind of jumped in, and it was sort of in the middle of what it was doing. I mean, you get sent stuff the same way, you review the content and all of that, but you don't have any pre-existing relationships. So it's a little bit harder to develop a shorthand with a creative team if you haven't sort of been able to interact as easily as you can in person. There's just a lot of things that you pick up in person, body language and just the energy of room and that kind of stuff. Whereas here it's just, you're projecting or extrapolating or whatever it is, because it's just kind of a bit of a cold interface. When you know someone, you just naturally apply all of that information to their gestures and to what you're doing. So I don't think it really detracts that much. And, we've known each other for over 10 years. So I think that's why it works, a little bit easier for us.
I think it's like anybody else on Zoom on any other type of work is you can't tell when someone's done talking and someone's about to start talking and you talk over them and they're like, no, you go, no, you go, no, yeah. And so it's that, whereas you would be taking those visual body language cues in person to know, like, not to steamroll over someone's idea. But that's just how we exist now, I guess. Corinne, Allen, how was that? Was, well, different working on this show versus other types of work you're doing, and then also was the virtual experience different on top of that?
I think it's just you miss interacting with the crew. I think on a date, the day-to-day, you just meet in the hallway and you have coffee and then you're talking about something. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or if you're, the team can just go over to one another's desks and look over like, hey, how do I do this? Or what are you doing on your side? That's the most I think that you would miss. But I think for the most part for working on this, I thought we would, if there was any issue, I think we would just get on Zoom and just talk about it and share screen. And it's like, okay, it's done. We're going back to work. so I think like the workflow between us was, I think it worked great. I didn't feel any different. I mean, we had folks who were in Ireland and Spain on different time zones. And so it was fine, actually. It was totally fine.
And in a way that sort of helped production on this particular episode, because we know it was a short turnaround. So because we were working with international folks in like Brazil and Ireland and Spain, it was like we would give direction and then, go to sleep, wake up, and then some stuff would be done. And it'd be like, oh, okay. It's like work is magically getting done 24/7. So it sort of that was sort of a interesting part about the remote process. One thing we've learned over we've been remote before the pandemic, actually. That's just something we had made a decision for the studio. And one thing we learned is just to be very clear in your direction and, your emails, and make sure the emails have, bullet points and, things are in bold and things are color coded, like all that that becomes a bigger deal when you're working remote. It's just to be way clearer about direction and instructions. But it's been great. I think, in general, artists just need to know where to go. And then when they go, they just need a lot of quiet time in a way to just get it done. So that's one thing good about the animation business. I think you still need a chunk of time to just concentrate on what you're doing. So in a weird way, not having meetings every 5 seconds has been helpful for the artists, I think.
Speaking of artists, Dan, does that translate directly to you? How's that been your experience for work remote on this project, but also others?
Well, it's been okay. I feel like a similar thing that Corinne said, in that you miss a little of that camaraderie of being at work and joking around with people and interacting that way, spontaneity of that. On the other hand, this has worked out pretty great. I'm getting to know you guys. I know Ash from the past. And so I feel there's a comfort there, and, knowing Ash is also an animator. So it's great having him be able to draw something out. We get it real quick and we're able to move and function and focus on what has to get done. So for me, it's fine. I'd rather spend time just focusing on work than having to race somewhere, fight traffic, and I can do other things while I've got this going on, like laundry. You can just kind of get those things going and just, I don't know, it's, in some ways it's more efficient. So I've enjoyed it. So far, so good.
It's interesting. Like we just started the story process for episode 3. And, there's a lot of like exploration. And this is the kind of part where historically you're all in a room and everyone talks and you back and forth with, what your ideas are. But, because the medium is quite visual, one of the benefits of this, I think, in a little bit is like in a lot of other movies I've worked on, you got 12 people hunched around one dude with a Cintiq who's trying to kind of present what he's doing. And not everyone gets to see it. The director and a few, key people are there. As an editor, you're kind of like 3/4 in the back going like, someone will tell me later. And you're just sort of there for like whatever the energy of the room is. Here, Dan presents his screen. We're looking at his presentation full screen, with their little heads popped up on the side kind of deal. And we can have these like, you can really immerse yourself in the idea of it quite early, I think. And then Ash will come in and like flip over and you're like, oh, can I take control? I'm like, what if we did a shot like this? Like, so, I think in many ways it's just evolving into something else. And once you get over the communication part of it, I think there's a lot of opportunities. It's different. It's not worse. And there can be a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, and Pastor had asked about any chance of community members to sit on a virtual writer's room, even as a giveaway. I realize it would be spoiler city. That would be cool, but it is going to be tough. And that's at least a question from an NDA, from a, like, that can't be propagated out into Discord/Twitter. So that's the tough part, is like the trust that we'd have to build, right, Lisa?
I mean, I do think it would be fun. It would, but it would, yes, we'd make you sign NDAs, all of that stuff. But I do think it would be fun, as long, how it would work would be an interesting question, and how much of the writing. I mean, I know Sarah does a lot of first draft stuff, and I know that they then sit around and do a lot of stuff together, and then Neil and I jump in. So like, there's kind of a few iterations on that. So the question is like, how much of that would that entail? But like, let's think about that. It could be really, really fun.
Yeah, and maybe we wanted to limit that option of making it some sort of giveaway, like just as a single person that gets to do it, and then they hold all the keys to the kingdom and they can't say anything.
Well, and it could be fun though if we could then like record that content and release it later. So that later on, like after the episode and there aren't any spoilers, you guys could, like, the whole community as a whole could see what that looked like.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Good call, Pastor. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm glad you called us out on it, because we had brought it up a long time ago as a possibility. And I think if we were to take a segment, say episode 3, that doesn't have big spoilers in it, like the Reggie thing, that might help. We could still do the NDA and all that, but it wouldn't explode anybody's head, where you just got to tell somebody, because
Yeah, we need
even
to
if
keep
you did sign an
heads
NDA.
intact.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't want to. Virtually speaking.
I want to jump in on what Curtis said about the tokens, just so I can answer that question. Yeah, that was always the plan, is 1,000 new tokens with each character. And then, we were listening, we watch a lot of what the community says about those tokens existing. And we have sort of compiled a lot of community sentiment on that. And we were discussing, we want to make sure that if we need to like appropriately pivot, that we will, and that what the community wants for the project is important to us too. So we have kind of considered all of that, but absolutely we want to release Hash Panda tokens, because come on, they're awesome.
So and Kyle's saying about how with everything being digital and the loss of physical media, we're losing that sort of commentary track. That's the bonus features kind of thing. But that's really interesting. So I think that's really appealing to me as well. And maybe this is why you guys are here, is kind of pulling back that curtain and being like, let's get the post commentary, the post game report on how it worked and the little nuances that you wouldn't have otherwise known. So I guess this is kind of the 2021 DVD commentary in a way.
They do some cool. There's on Disney Plus, I think, of all the streamers, HBO Max has a couple of like these weird little clips that are more promo things for the movies that they release. But the making of Mandalorian I thought was really cool, and they've done a couple of like hour-long episodes of that. I find that tech really fascinating, and I find like those innovations in expanding what we have now to get back a little bit more to like these immersive environments for actors to be in, and shooting in camera rather than doing everything on green screen is super cool. If you're not familiar, basically they built this massive rig, and we talked about doing it on Space Jam. Space Jam was on green screen, but at one point it was going to be this really exciting massive LED things where, I mean, the good and the bad is you have to have developed all the content that you're going to essentially project. It's like, the modern version of rear projection for things that are there. But there's something about capturing something in camera that had a charm in live action that's been lost. And anyway, so like there's a few examples if you go looking at things sort of to watch. Unfortunately, animation is a bunch of people sitting at desks. It's a very inactive. There's no actors. The actors show up in booths and then they leave. So it's like the cool factor of that for your average content consumer is not great. It's like, oh wow, it's a bunch of fucking people sitting around drinking coffee. So I think like, unless you're really into the artistry of it all, it's a bit hard to kind of jazz it up. Whereas like walking through sets and walking through and watching people building costumes and all that kind of stuff has a little bit a little bit more entertainment appeal quite often. But we're always eager to give people as much information or insight or whatever it is. It's like, it's this cross between creative and technical that isn't for everyone, but this space, I think it's a little bit more niche too. But yeah, I mean, you watch an hour and a half making of an animated movie, and it's just some dude doing this. And so wow.
It's so funny. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. Is, you know, when we're making a movie that the network or studio or whoever it is, distributor, whatever, they do this EPK, which is electronic press kit. You get all these questions that are pre-prepared that we get to sit down and we answer. And there's a behind the scenes person who's curating all of this stuff. So those extras are like super curated. And I have sat in those interviews and been like, oh, I wish I could like tell the real of what just happened here. And I feel like you guys really do get a lot more of the real of what this is like, as opposed to the nicely curated by a marketing department version of what the behind the scenes really looks like. You guys have kind of gotten into some of the nitty gritty with us, which sometimes is like really, really tiring. I mean, Brendan sent me CBD gummies yesterday, guys, trying to make sure that we're all sleeping.
Yeah, we got them as
funny.
well. So they're good, by the way.
Us too.
When you watch the behind the scenes for animation, it's actually my favorite flavor of bullshit for all of that kind of stuff, the EPK, because you sit there and like a lot of the time the studios you record in are these shitbag studios with like some dude in sweatpants or whatever the deal is. Your actor comes in wearing their regular clothes, a fucking hoodie, a hat. They don't look like who you think they're gonna look like. They probably have a mustache. Like it's all a very strange, and it's like, even if you have a good relationship, you're like, hey, dude, what's up? You talk a little bit of shit, you record, they fuck off, and that's it. But when you watch the EPK of it, they come in all dressed up in their gear, leather jacket, lighting's good. There's a character cut out of them in there, and you're like, where the fuck was that? There's like this luxurious buffet table stuff, and I was like, I didn't get snacks. So whatever you see more often, and even when you see someone working on something, they're like, this is how the magic happens. They're probably recreating that. So like, hey, you remember that conversation where the director came over? So they do this thing where they go, what are you working on? Oh, well, I just created this brand new set. Let me take a look. And it's like, that shit's done. The actual event was someone sitting there like this going like, oh God, the director's here. What am I going to do? I don't know. Show them that thing that you did, you know, like it's, but you know, the conversations that come out of that when it actually sort of, you know, works, the sort of, you know, truth of it all is actually kind of interesting. And you know, everyone wants to sort of project, you know, the bubble of how magical, you know, movie making is, but it's like any other job. It's work, and you know, you get these little pockets of you know, inspiration and things that are in there, and the rest of the time you're just sort of, you know, doing the work essentially. But I don't know, I find I'm terrible at that stuff. I'm like, I'm not in any interviews because I'm like, oh fucking, I've not, I don't, you don't want to hear the me version of it, and I don't really have the sugar-coated version of stuff. So I personally have avoided that.
Someone was saying that our interactive DVD commentary is the 1,000% more swearing, which might be the quota exclusively by Chris, really ups that number, and that might be the reason you're not interviewed on EPKs.
So what do you have to say about a children's film? Oh, fuck children. And it's like, well, we're done.
I think you should interview every animated thing. You know, even if you're not on it, you just show up for an interview.
The Chris commentary.
The Chris commentary. Just come and just curse like a pirate and then leave. Fuck this shit and then just leave.
Just make people try to actually say something that I can use some juicy slip of insider info.
Right.
So
you know,
speaking
thinking about,
of,
there's oh sorry, Ash.
Oh no, go ahead, Alan.
There is an interesting documentary by about Miyazaki, who was the founder of Studio Ghibli, and it's a pretty raw I mean, I'm sure it's still curated, you know, because it's a documentary, but there's some pretty raw nerves that are touched in that documentary, and it's interesting to see. And he's, you know, a genius in his own right, and it's fun to see like just how his mind thinks and just how the entire crew has to work around him. So I thought that was a really interesting, less sugar-coated version of animation, if anyone's interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that one.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them. I'm just trying to catch up quickly, like before they scroll off the top. Chris Rock recorded in an actual studio in New York, not in his house. with an
His voice was a
iPhone.
little bit raspy because he had, he'd been sick, a couple of weeks before, but he was a champ. It was really fun. Actually, it was like getting a little bit of a Chris Rock concert.
Yeah, we recorded it at Mr. Bronx in New York, and we got on there and they were like, oh my God, like when we got the call that it's StonerCast, we were so excited. Like, let us know what else you need, like anything. We're super excited about this project. And we're like, oh, damn. All right. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
So
and he sounded
someone
much better.
Oh,
I'm
he
sorry, I'm
was
going to
great.
jump. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I was looking. This is the same as well. I saw like there's something about cutscenes and unused storyboards and bits and pieces in there. We had discussed. We had a deleted scene actually that we made, and we were going to record it and we're going to make a temp version of it. There was a discussion of us releasing the actual like shitty temp version where I'm doing like 3 of the voices and all this other stuff that's in there. I'm not voting yes on it, but we can.
He'll be outvoted. It's cool.
Al already voted yes, so that's
You're already
happening.
outvoted.
Yeah. I say that now
Um,
with my terrible, terrible Fifi scratch. So I'm just as guilty. So it is what it is.
Well, we were the ones listening to it the most, I think, at Ghost Spot, and we grew very attached to your temp voices.
Oh, I was
very
about
nice.
to apologize.
Here's another one kind of involving Lisa. I know it's super early, but have you guys discussed some sort of Stoner Cat Summit? That would be really cool. Maybe episode 6. I don't know. That would be really cool.
It would.
I'm just saying, in a perfect world.
We have discussed. We are discussing.
Okay, good. Still on the table?
Stoner Cat Con. I'm assuming there's a Stoner Con somewhere.
Yeah, but like,
Friday somewhere.
did you guys see that tweet about NFT NYC where it was like NFT NYC where the POAP you get is COVID? So we would want to make. I was there. I didn't get it, thank God. But we also do recognize there is still a pandemic happening. So we want to be responsible and, but also give us all a chance to be someplace together too. So we're considering.
Well, we had a crazy like 9 p.m. idea. They're not as crazy as the 3 a.m. ideas, but we need to get a white van and make it up like the weed van and drive around the country and have outdoor events.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing next summer. Okay.
It blurred a line of like the unmarked white van that has to be a certain distance from a playground was.
Oh yeah,
was
we can't be near a
crux.
school. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Or near nursing homes because people might think we're actually selling medical marijuana to the elderly.
Be a
No
mob.
free candy and
Yeah.
no,
Okay, I'm talking myself out of it now.
Yeah. That was the end of the 3-hour conversation where we got tired and we started saying weird shit.
Yeah.
Um,
Al also wrote, sorry, I'm kind of jumping and moderating this. You can tell me to shut up, but Al's still awake. Great. Just checking. He says, I assume all cutscenes and unused storyboards are saved. Yeah. And maybe we should build a little gallery at some point of some of the like we could curate that, even though we can't curate anything else about our world. And maybe, did we talk about the deleted scene? We touched on it at some point from episode 2.
Yeah, that's why we're talking with our terrible, terrible scratch.
Oh yeah.
So that's something that we could probably.
I think it's pretty built, and it's we got like temp music, so you can sort of see how things would evolve into something. And we ended up kind of using somewhat the idea, and we just integrated into it. It was just like, and when we released, we can talk about it. It's just like we decided structurally, it just felt like it didn't flow with the rest of the episode, and we just couldn't kind of justify doing it as its own scene. But we gotta, if you can get a laugh out of temp, boards, dialogue, sound effects, and music, then you think that the idea has potential. So you can see how far it made before it hit the digital cutting room floor. It's just different folder.
Yeah, and it has a great button punchline from Lisa.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, Lisa's joke got cut, but it was a great song.
One joke.
To be fair, your emotional story arc was correct, and that stayed.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
Actually, related to recording and tech, this is kind of a twofold question of people asking where people recorded, how they recorded. but also, you know, do they have their own equipment? Is it different? And then challenges when mixing.
Oh, is Brendan on here?
I don't know if Brendan is on.
He's crying somewhere.
I mean, he's, wait, I don't know if he's on.
We
or not.
had it all perfectly planned for episode 2. Like Brendan he ordered kits and like microphones to spec from Patrick Clark, who did the mix, and you know, it was all lined up, and then it all fell apart. Thank you, Amazon or UPS or whoever. Is Trevor on here, by the way?
Yeah, I'll say this episode had the most things go wrong in our planning and making it that I expected. And maybe we're a little overconfident because everything was pretty smooth sailing in the first episode. We kind of kept it together. Everything, we made the schedule and everything dropped in. And so we were like, we got this shit down. Let's bring on more people and that'll be easier. And just across the board, like just logistics, things out of our control, people's schedules, you know, like Ash was saying, you know, we mailed out these kits to get to people to be able to record, you know, correctly as best you can. And the shit just didn't show up like for weeks. Like we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing days, you know, and every day is a challenge to push. And like 2 weeks, I think one of our mics just got delivered yesterday or some shit. Like that's
Trevor
how
was like,
crazy
it showed up like a week later after the record. And we're like, cool.
And, you know, our actors got busy because we had this little pocket very early on. We weren't ready to go because we wanted to make some changes. And then they got all super busy because everyone's working now and everything's crazy. So our ability to just like grab people on a whim. And then now that we wanted to do it a little bit more tech savvy was even harder because we needed not just them to record on their iPhone in 5 minutes between, you know, whatever they're doing. We wanted to do it right. And that just became really, really, really difficult. You know, Rolf is working as well in the music and doing other stuff, traveling between London and LA. So he wasn't able to just like do music. It's also 30% more content and a lot more music than we'd asked him. So all of that, you know, took a little bit longer as well, just like fucking everything. So we were crunching to the end. And then, yeah, that's the last thing that happened was the mix. You know, Patrick was working for a week, but he's also got a day job. So he's doing this in his spare time on the weekends and stuff. And yeah, you know, Gary was really hard to nail down. We couldn't get him a mic in time. So we had to use his sound guy and do the best we could with the environments that we had. But a little bit all over the place. We thought like everyone's going to be pro, everyone's going to be recorded with a professional setup in a studio. And much of that happened, but not all of it.
My favorite, and I think also Alan and Corinne's favorite as well, is after the Gary record. Gary, bless him, he is such a busy person and he was so great and so wonderful to make out the time to do it. And like Chris had said last night, is that he wanted to make sure that we had what we needed because it wasn't just a one line. You saw the performance. It's a lot. It's a full character that we're shaping. And he wanted to make sure that he hit the mark. So he's like, I really am limited on time today. Can we do it again? So when he was available to do the record the second time, and we really he nailed it on that record. Like he really did. But the fun part is because he's so busy, immediately after that record, he hopped on a plane and his guy had put the SD card into luggage and just put it on the flight. And so we were just like waiting. And then we're like, hey, Alan and Corinne, we recorded. And they're like, great. We're like, but the SD card is in a 747 right now. And we hope it makes it back and that someone has it. So that was like a fun thing. And you know, everything that Alan and Corinne do is dependent on the production dialogue because they can't animate the lip sync until they have the actors record files. So it wasn't really anybody's fault. It was just, you know, par for the course of this episode.
Well,
We're just all praying.
Praying,
please make it.
Actually, it took so long for us to get the dialogue that what I ended up doing is I ripped the dialogue from the Zoom session that we had recorded. And so I pulled the dialogue from that, brought it into Avid, made the selects from that, and then we animated to that, I think, in many instances. Then when they finally sent the final dialogue and nothing sunk up, so I had to do it all by ear and by sight, I had to take the actual dialogue, go in, find around about the same places, pull up the waves and replicate the sound edits that I had done with the final recording and then swap them out. So, yeah.
That sounds crazy. Yeah, for us, we were animating, because the challenge point was, we had this really tight schedule, and it was, we were getting voices sort of incrementally, here and there. So we were just trying to animate everything in the show that didn't have VO first. That was the first thing we did. So any kind of like physical movement was the first things we animated because we didn't have the VO quite yet. And as everyone came in, including Gary, we just sort of Gary was the last thing we were doing. We were literally doing Gary like I think on Thursday or Friday. We're still wrapping up Gary, so there are little things we were doing there. So we were just holding out to the last second, just giving Ash and the team as much time as they can to get the VO get to us. So yeah, it's not the ideal way to work, but it's memorable.
I think at least a couple of the other shots as well, we had to kind of do scratch to replicate what we thought the actors were going to do, and we couldn't do ADR in traditional sense. So we just had to hope that their performances were close to what we had done as the animation is getting closer along. So I want to say there's at least a couple of shots that were animated to temp, and then we replaced them afterwards, which is
from what I saw, what you guys did is amazing. When I saw the final, product and all the tweaks to I know there were tweaks to the audio from what we had given you, but it was amazing to hear and see how well connected. So great job on that. I'm stunned by how you guys did that.
And not to not to beat a dead horse, but guys, most of the time people are recording for animated stuff a year in advance. Those people can like say, oh, I can't come in. The actors are used to saying, I'll come in October, I'll come in January, and that the production goes, okay, fine, that's fine. We can work up to that. So that's more typical of what people are expecting. And we're just like we need you now. We need you now. And that has been definitely a special challenge of doing this project this way.
Sure has.
So there's a question about whether Gary's Hash Panda is coming back again. Gary's Hash Panda is coming back again for at least one more episode, potentially two.
Hey, Mike. He's having a snack, apparently, according to Sarah.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out to GoSpot. I made their lives hell. I think we all did, but I take particular credit. And they really, because they've said before, episode 2 was their pilot. Coming onto a new show with a completely anything pipeline. It's a pipeline that didn't exist anywhere. They weren't working on flat backgrounds. They're working in a weird 3D environment, working in a brand new style. And my nightmare was that, because I was animating the Baxter stuff, that we'd cut it all together and it'd just be night and day different. But it turned out they really stepped up, and Dan as well. And so if they want to, complain about anything, I know we love hearing all the real stories. So if you want to talk about any fun horror stories, please do.
Not sleeping, working
weekends. This is like a therapy session. It's a public therapy thing.
Doing reviews while you're eating dinner every night.
I think we all got very close. I'm going to say that. It was pretty much around the clock. We were 7-Eleven on this job. Yeah. I think on one level, the biggest challenge was definitely, I think the immediate challenge was the schedule. And I would give all credit to Corinne for figuring it out, because there's no way in hell I would have been able to figure out how we were going to get it done on time. So I think Corinne kind of orchestrating the schedule was a big deal.
Sure was.
And
we had a bit of a nightmare, just to interject real quick, and then I want you, but to build on what you just said, we had a panic call about 5 weeks ago. And we're just like, how are we going to do this? We were looking at the trajectory, and it was like January of 22 or something. We're like, we cannot do this. How are we going to work it out? And we basically told Corin, okay, you tell us what to do. You're the boss now. And as soon as that happened, we got in the fast lane. So yeah, thank you.
And the hardest part about creative planning is because it's not a linear progress. Like everything takes too long at the beginning while you're learning, and then once you get it down, things turn around a lot faster. And you have to believe that, but you can't really plan for it. You know, it's like it's one of those things that happens. Like every show you work on, you're like, it took a fucking year to do 2 shots. How are we going to do 1,000 shots in 6 months? Kind of idea. And it's all about, you know, getting up to speed. But if you don't spend that time doing it right, then you do 1,000 shots wrong, you know. So
Well, you know, I think it's a testament to everybody on the team because everyone works so well together. And I think that's the magic sauce always. You can be put into the worst situation. You're like, oh, this nuclear bomb is about to go off. And if you have everybody working together, it's so much better. Like it's a zillion times better working with really nice people. And it's true. We did get to know each other because it would be like midnight and we're like, Ash, can you look at this scene? I'm sorry to bother you. And he's like up already. And he goes, I'm just listening to music, animating. I'm fine. Stuff. So everybody just chipped in and helped. And it was hard. I mean, like Sunday was our first day off in like, I think 8 weeks or I think that was it. And it felt like we actually sat on the couch and my dogs usually like to like lie on me and they haven't laid on me in like 8 weeks. So they just like came and snuggle and we watched TV and we watched like 4 hours of TV and I was like, wow, this feels like forever. It's amazing. So, and we finally saw Dune. It was awesome. So I was like, wow, and we had like a dinner outside, you know, because a lot of times we were eating at our desk and stuff. So it was great. I mean, that was the hard part. It's just not having a balance of life, you know. But the reward, I think, for the episode looking so great is like it's pretty awesome. So it's amazing.
Yeah, you really stepped up, like in every single way. And yeah, you deserve the time off. And thank you. Thank you so much.
And for anyone who's not as familiar with 2D animation, like 3D animation, every animator is given the same rig, basically. So they have the mechanics of the character, they have the face, they have the proportions, all those things. Now you can stretch and distort and kind of make a mess out of it, but your ability to fuck up the character is limited somewhat. And even so, like I remember on Happy Feet in particular, we had a really hard time with new animators getting the subtleties of the characters in there within these hyper complex rigged characters that had all of these rules predefined into them. In 2D, that doesn't exist. Every frame, all of those choices and proportions have to be replicated frame after frame after frame. And if the nose is too big or too small, it's not the character. If the eyes are too wide, too far apart, like just those kind of simple changes. If the mouth shapes are wrong, if the accents and things are wrong, you know, every frame of the body is meant to be, you know, drawn frame for frame to flow, you know, correctly 24 frames per second. So that's the amount of like necessity and detailing per frame per character that new people have to adapt to what we've already defined and make it look like it's the same character moving from shot to shot, not let alone the continuity and the performance that's in there, and making sure the characters don't go dead for the, like, you know, the hard part to quantify is there's the, you know, technical things you need to fix, but does the character feel like the character? Does the character move like the character? Do the other characters alive? Are they saying something? Are they saying the right thing? Anyway, I don't mean to rant, but like, just so you guys understand the difficulties of new people coming into this world, you know, and being able to contribute in a way that makes it feel seamless.
And Dan included as well. I mean, you want to talk about bringing somebody in as like their pilot on episode 2, is we brought him in for, hey, help us get started on episode 3. And then we're like, JK, here you go. Help figure out how to animate these characters so Ghostbot can do their job. And it was like, sorry. But then he just was like, okay, like he pivoted, and then all his drawings are amazing and directly informed the animation of the face of all the characters. And like, he was just cranking stuff out. Him and Ash are just like sending a ton of shots a day. We're just like, I don't understand how many hours are in your day, because I would not have been able to accomplish that. So also props to Dan for really rolling with the punches when that was not technically the job you signed up for.
Well, thanks. I mean, when it's first started, I didn't really know
You
what
made that face.
I didn't know what really was going on behind the scenes. And I was like suddenly like trial by fire. And then once, like after like day 2, I realized, oh, these guys are kind of under the gun. I got to be under the gun now. And thank God for several things. Okay. The tech, Ash turned me on to the Signal app and it got us all on this network. So that was a huge new thing for me, even though I'm familiar with that sort of thing. It was keeping everybody like informed all the time as to what had to get done. And I had great model sheets from Ash, who I think became what the original NFTs were, if I'm not mistaken. And so I had good stuff to work from in terms of the model sheets and Ash's storyboard drawings. So, the biggest challenge, aside from just trying to keep up with the pace of everything, was just learning about the show, like understanding who the characters were, the sensibility of the humor, all that stuff. I'm still kind of learning that because these guys have all been working on it for a long time. And I'm it was just like, okay, I just got to get this done for these guys, and Ash would correct me. He'd see drawings that I do and go, well, kind of like have a different idea for this, or, to get the dialogue in, and that might be different than from what the original story sketch would be. So that would certainly affect the expression or whatever. But we all got to know each other pretty quick, and it was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna just do it. It has to be done. So it was fun. Crazy at first, but once we got on a roll, we did it. So
Crazy.
Dan was a cool cat. It's like he came in and we're like, here's some kerosene we're dousing you with. And then we just lit him on fire, and then he'd be like, okay, what's next? I got this.
once I
Dan.
knew what the list was, like once that was like, okay, this is what's got to get done this week, it was like, okay, it's got to get done.
Mhm.
It's awesome.
Get in
Thank
that
I wonder if
zone.
we could share that, Ash, if you have model sheets and maybe some of Dan's sketches that sort of translate what that looks like. And then maybe the final shot to kind of show that progression, I think is fascinating to me. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that.
Yeah, we should do it's already past noon, but we should do a section just about how character layout works.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I have some of the layers that you had comped Dan's sketches into the backgrounds, I think, in the Avid as well. So I could try to prep something if we figure out a shot that you want, and because I'll have the boards, your original layout, and then Dan's layout, and then the final.
Yeah, you can go through the progression. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mhm.
Maybe next week or the week after.
Sure.
Yeah, people are asking if we're doing a Thanksgiving call.
I'm up for it. I'll be in another town, but there's internet.
Yeah, we could all bring our parents. So we'll make it a family. You can meet actual Ms. Stoner, which is my mom, which I just want to say on a sappy moment too, and I don't want this to get lost, and I don't think it has. And some people were talking about how the fun of the show, but the seriousness of the show, right? The underlying, elephant in the room is, Miss Stoner's Alzheimer's. And, that's something, I'm going to cry. Stop it. Is that's a real thing for my mom. And so it's really special to me for you guys to be like so supportive and letting me have this avenue. So thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
One of the things that we set out to do with the show is try to bring some heart to it and something serious to it, and actually say something real. And it's a real challenge in a studio system to convince people to do something that real. Pixar is known for doing it quite well, but in this sort of medium, we wanted to find a way to balance that. And it was really hard because you want to play a real moment, not make fun of it. And Sarah was saying, like, these are the moments she was having with her mom, and they're these little tragic moments in time that add up. And I think you're doing a disservice if you don't play it right. But you also, within a 6-minute episode, can't lean into it too hard because you can't creatively recover from it in a way to make the episode entertaining. Because we don't want to, labor the viewer with something that is unfortunate and a little bit sad when you want to be entertained and have fun. But if you don't feel anything, then it's superficial anyway. So that was one of the hardest challenges I think we had with the tone of the show, but this episode in particular. And the truth is, as the show progresses, we're going to be leaning into that. She's not getting better, and as realistic about that as we can get away with. And, you know, the cats are going to try to help her in a way that we can't always help people in the real world. So that's our sort of cathartic way of you know, doing what we wish we could.
It's a good therapy, I'll say. Some of it's really hard because I do have to draw on inspiration from her that really, you know, because I want to do it justice and I want to put what's real in there. But then there's stuff where we had this line in and we took it out because it didn't really make sense if you don't understand where it comes from. But my mom will mix up different sayings. So like, don't bite the horse that feeds you is her way of saying like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So she's like, don't bite the horse that feeds you. And she'll say it so deadpan as if like, that's the saying. And I'm like, wait, did she say? And then she said, it's the best thing since sliced cheese. And it's like, there are all these things that I'm now saying that are like the wrong version of the sayings, but she says it with such confidence that I'm like, you know what? It is the best thing since sliced cheese. You're right, Mom.
It's you know, we picked up on that in the early versions of the script for episode 2, you know, touching on the stoners, Alzheimer's, and it was amazing to see that. We you know, it made us even more excited about working on it. And then as the script had developed further, Rep 2 and the animatics, you know, got punched up even more all the way to the end, it just got better and better. So I think it's amazing to see that in animation. You know, as you know, we all have aging parents, so you know, I'm very sensitive to that, you know, that situation. And you know, we even have friends who we've had to take care of their aging parents who live nearby. You know, we would go and take care of them because they are having dementia or Alzheimer's. So it's you know, it's something that's happening. I don't think it's spoken about much. You know, it's sort of a quiet problem in society. So I just appreciate that the show is even addressing it. You know, I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. We have to be able to talk about it to be able to address it. So
Yeah, because I think a lot of people go through it, you know.
absolutely. I've connected with a bunch of people who have, you know, surprisingly more people who have experienced it and directly or indirectly. And it's really tough and really impactful. So it's having a community it means everything to me. And I've really found that my true group of friends has been so incredible to have, my support group. And then you guys by extension, you know, like you guys showing up and just saying nice little things. And, you know, some days are better than others. So you guys just, you know, being here is phenomenal. So thank you. That's super sappy to go out. Can we someone ask a question about a fart joke or something,
joke, quick,
please? Someone fart.
A giraffe walks into a bar, looks at the bartender, and says, "Highballs on me." Hey.
There it is. I can always count on Mac.
I honestly, I use that joke like once a month, even in our community, and I think it's still doing fine. The other thing I would throw there is I was talking to a friend of mine recently who said, "Holy shit, you got Alan at GhostBot. How did you get them to do the animation on Stoner Cast?" So Alan, I wanted to let you know that the world's watching, and like I literally got a salute about you and GhostBot being involved. So that's very fucking cool.
I did too, cool. Actually. I was talking back to some people over at Sony and they were like, "Oh, I heard you're working with GhostBot. Like they're really like A+ A level." And I was like, yeah, they really are. So words about town.
Nice. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I know, thank you.
Now I feel
Sometimes
like
you don't know, you know,
to-
you work on stuff and it just goes out and you don't know, you don't know how well you did. It just goes out into the world, but it's nice to hear that kind of feedback. It's awesome.
Yeah, we just go back to our desk and start working on the next thing.
I mean, that said, we have to talk later about a future of, oh yeah, we need to continue to make more episodes. How do we schedule that? Corinne's going to get out her planner. We're going to start all over again.
Here we go.
24 hours of celebrating episode 2 before when episode 3. So
Yeah, I already saw that message somewhere and I had a bit of a
shit.
flashback.
It happened on a meeting yesterday. Somebody on our team said 3, and I was like, Go fuck off.
Not today. Not today.
Right
friend.
now.
Yeah, too soon.
But now after that story, I want to find a way to put the cats in a bar. I mean, we gotta have 5 cats under a bar and make a joke out of that. So I have no idea
absolutely.
where, but now I want to.
That's a good
And
jump
that
off.
giraffe character's got to be created now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
With
They go to a
testicles.
zoo or something.
Well, and then we have to answer who giraffe.
The giraffe.
Oh, you remember
Please
the
spell who.
old Muppets cartoon where you never saw above the nanny's legs? You just saw her
Oh, yeah.
straight stockings. What if we just had giraffe balls at the top of the screen? And now it's like the giraffe character with the giraffe testicles.
So you're saying there's a giraffe just teabagging every shot is what you're saying. Okay,
bumping
okay.
people in the back of the head.
Dave's doing his little.
If Matt gets a joke in the episode before I do, I'm gonna throw a table.
You guys,
Our last NFT drop is giraffe balls, and then we'll be throughout the community forever.
Perfect.
1,000
you guys-
1,000
variations.
giraffe balls.
you guys joke about this, but there'll be some 3 a.m. night where I'll be talking to Ash and I'll be saying, "So Ash, how much should the draft balls move? Like, should it move
Yeah.
a lot or less? Like, how much are we talking
the
about
jig?
here?"
What's the squash and
level?
stretch on the
Yeah.
giraffe balls? Yeah.
All that secondary motion.
How fluffy are we going here? And then when we do the NFT drop, we got to figure out what the accessories are.
Yeah. How do you accessorize giraffe
Hey,
balls?
Dan, can you do texture maps?
Yeah.
It's
It's like, I'm not doing texture maps for giraffe balls. That's where I draw the line.
Marketing is going to put them up for Christmas trees every year. It's going to be, jingle
Oh, yeah,
balls or
on your
whatever.
tree?
Oh,
Like an
yeah.
ornament?
Yeah.
Do they come in pairs?
Just no
they
scratch
can.
and sniff NFTs. Okay?
There's a reason we keep them digital.
Wait, is that for the metaverse? Is that where we're going with this?
Could be.
Matt just asked if this is what our job is like, and the answer is yes.
Exactly.
It's actually harder to stay on track more
Yes,
than it
this
is
is
to actually.
this is where Lisa goes. Anyways, so about the schedule, or Corinne goes. So, anyways, we have 1,000 shots to do before Monday. Can we stop talking about giraffe balls?
And
No.
here's what's really funny is in the creative room, I try to be the most grown up, but in on the sixth wall side, people are like, "Shut up, Lisa, we have business to do." And so it's always nice to come here and be able to make fart jokes and giraffe ball jokes.
Yeah. That was cathartic.
Can I share a
That's an
suggestion
no.
about DVD commentary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it.
So as soon as somebody mentioned it, I saw somebody say DVD commentary. And I take this with the grain of salt that Chris is sharing about how poorly behind the scenes can go for animation. My childhood into adult love of DVD commentary is rewatching the actual movie with the commentary laid over it. So a lot of times when I am clicking through the old school DVD menu, I'm rewatching The Lion King or I'm rewatching the movie. There is no other footage that you have to create. It's just a rewatch with you guys. And my suggestion would be
That's awesome.
maybe even with us. Maybe it's literally like this call, except somebody's screen sharing and pinned as the full thing. And you just watch it. We're all muted and you just watch it. And you guys have your commentary like you're doing right now. But instead of us using our brains and being like, oh, I think I remember that, you actually just pause it as you're going through and be like, this is what this meant. And this is how long that took. And oh my gosh, we made his life hell when we asked to do that. Actually go through it as we're watching it. And then as that was in my head, now I'm shifting. Now this is a different thing. That could actually be our watch party. We could do what we did on Discord, except like this. So we can at least see each other. And instead of watching with no audio at all, at least we can see each other laughing. And that was one of the only awkward things of doing the watch party was, I was like, I think I'm watching it with other people, but I can't tell if I'm watching it with other people. I'm pretty sure they're there. I feel like I should unmute my mic so they can hear me laughing, but I don't actually want them to hear me laughing. They're trying to watch the show. Maybe Zoom would allow us to at least see each other or something and make it feel like a watch party.
Be a 45-minute
I
episode.
love that idea.
We could totally do our own Mystery Science Theater of our own episode. I would 100% do that.
Yeah. And
There's
by
some
the way, we spoke, our team spoke to Discord directly. and asked for, we just called Discord, guys, and asked for the ability to do this a little bit more seamlessly so that we're not having to jump into Zoom. Like, we talked about our use case and what we need to do, and how it'd be so much nicer if we could do it all in one place. And so we went up real high to try to have that conversation of like, help us help you, keep the NFT community on Discord. And this is what we need. We need to be able to like screen share, have conversations, do the same kind of the things that Zoom can do, but like, let's do it within Discord and keep it all in the same place.
Yeah, I was going to say, Curtis, there's some really good commentary things. Like, I love the John Carpenter and Kurt Russell commentary combo. It's pretty fun because Carpenter just couldn't give a fuck, and he's just like old and eating fried chicken and just bored. But there's a great one for Fight Club as well. There's this story that is quite accurate about Edward Norton trying to direct every movie that he acts in or whatever. And there's like a couple of moments in there where Ed Norton's like, you know, I had this idea about this shot, and I don't know why you didn't do it this way. And they're like, well, why didn't you fucking say it like everything else? And just like quiet my word, it was like, Brad Pitt's just like tired of his shit. It's awesome.
You legit just sounded like Edward Norton. That was like with an accent, you legit just sounded like him. That was good.
I think Ed Norton should be the giraffe. You can do scratch.
The giraffe's balls.
He'll have notes. He'll have too many notes.
He will. We were just record his dialogue muffled. And starring Ed Norton as Giraffe's balls.
Sorry.
Just bringing it back there. It is true. I don't know if people do the director commentary things anymore. Rodriguez used to do it all the time. His 10-minute film school is something that I used to watch all the time. I thought it was like the most genuine, quick little interaction. He was really under the hood about his stuff in a way that was super refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It became a little bit too much for production and subsequent things. Max giving us a preview of the future NFTs. Yeah, honestly, for us, I never know how interesting any of the stuff that we have to talk about is, or whether it's just technically, you know, so specific. So we're kind of at the guidance of what, you know, people want to hear about.
Sweaty balls. So thanks.
Wait, do we need to make a emoji or for Discord of giraffe balls? Do we need to put that in there? And if you know, you know.
Yep.
Hey, Dan, let's talk later.
We have some design
meeting.
things.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Can you add piercings to those?
That's depending on the rarity. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So good.
Just when we got away from it, we just brought it right back.
Ash is gone. Ash is hood up. He can't. We broke him.
Just really dropped back into the conversation, eh?
Yes.
Is that's where you on a plane?
Dropped back.
No, I'm in a car.
Okay.
Plane's next.
British car?
He's flying a plane.
I was gonna say, it looks like you're flying a plane right now.
No, so I'm in the passenger seat of an empty
in
the parking garage waiting for my wife.
Oh, okay.
The headphone sounds like the announcement that you get when someone's flying. So I could just imagine you hit the wrong button and suddenly there's 200 passengers going, "What the fuck, giraffe balls?"
Thank you for flying Giraffe Balls Air.
This flight, you can find 2 exits at the front, 2 exits at the back, and 2 on the left.
I bet you Mac just slunk out. He's just like,
Oh, he's there.
threw his
He's
little
there.
grenade. Okay.
This is Mac's fault. He can't
It
slink
is.
out. I'm not even mad about it.
This is my
gift
finest
that
work.
keeps
to be
on
honest.
giving.
Like, I do a lot of shit, but this is because I believe that there will be an Easter egg. I'm not saying when, I'm not saying where.
So to
I can
speak.
imagine.
2 Easter eggs.
Yeah, egg-shaped Easter eggs.
Oblong Easter eggs. But only the 29 people in this call will understand our
Yeah.
sadistic Easter egg.
There's 20 more in the Discord. So
All right, so these 49 people get it.
That's
I don't know
Christmas
while
ball
we're
drop.
punning about stuff. This popped into my head when I was working at Warner Brothers years back. There was this marketing campaign for Yogi Bear that came out, and there was this poster that they fucking released. I shit
Don't
you
say
not.
the
Google
word.
it.
Yeah, you just said it.
And so it's Yogi Bear and Boo Boo in like this most awkward sort of front and back position thing. And the and the quote, the tagline on the poster said, "Good things come in bears." I'm not making that up. I swear to God.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
I was like, that's a joke, right? You're not really going to release that, right? That's not a real thing. Good things come in bears. And it's been however long, and it's the funniest thing about that movie.
Poster.
I mean,
Don't
to be
even walk in
fair,
the theater.
Chris was trying to use some marketing for Space Jam that he pitched to me, which I'm really upset that never came to light, which is he wanted a poster of Daffy Duck that said Big Duck Energy. I was like,
I swear to God, I commissioned
what
it to be
a missed
drawn. It was,
opportunity.
yeah, I even, I think I mocked it up because I did the temp voice for Bugs and Daffy before Eric Bauza did. And I kept trying to get it in there. I lost that battle along with many others.
You'll get it for Space Jam 3. You'll get it for Space Jam 3.
Well, technically it lives on now because we have ducks. So we technically still have Big Duck Energy and Stoner Cats.
I'll just get him a Daffy Duck icon.
There you go.
Well, we've completely devoted this from any form of
Yeah, I like Jay
functionality.
Rizzo's like,
Do we
I
want-
joined for giraffe balls. And I was like, well, you missed not that much. The previous part was still about balls, just not giraffe.
My personal hope is that nobody feels apologetic about the content of these conversations. I
Okay,
would say
good.
mostly Chris. Everyone else seems to have fun with it, but mostly Chris. Chris is always so like self-apologetic. Like, I'm going to share something deep from my heart, and then at the end be like, I know nobody wanted to hear that. Yes, I did. That's why I'm here.
The great news is we have no human resources.
It's
So
true.
all of the,
I thought it was you or Amila. What? Or you tag team that? I thought at one point you, maybe not.
yeah, no, it would be me. You know that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have to
I think-
report myself to me and,
Yes, Amila said something offensive and she's like, it's fine, I'm HR. And we're like, yeah, that tracks.
Has anybody heard from Gary Busey, by the way?
Gary
I
Busey,
wonder if he'd
okay.
call.
I'm
or-
just waiting. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Where I need to see what agency he's with because I might. Hang on.
Right down by the pier in Santa Monica. It was
I have a friend
one
who
of my
did a
first-
show called I'm with Busey years ago.
Oh yes,
I
it's
remember
great.
that show.
It's so good.
Yep,
Yep.
I went to college with that guy, and I mean, when it's real crazy.
I remember when
Yeah,
I first moved to LA, he was one of the first celebrities I saw, and it was just on the PCH. And I just, because he's just teeth. And I was just like, who's that? Oh, that's Gary Busey. Immediately.
I feel like we all have a Gary Busey story. I had the same
Yes.
thing. I was like here in summer in LA. I was visiting my brother at the time, and I was down literally by the PCH. And I wanted to, I'm wearing jeans and clothes and a mismatch for the weather because I was living in Vancouver at the time. And so I rolled up my jeans and I was about to go for a walk on the beach. And I was like, I don't know, the sand looks kind of hot. And this crazy homeless guy is over there and he's like, a real man likes to feel hot sand on his feet. And I was like, what? Yeah, I guess. And then I realized that crazy homeless guy was Gary Busey. And I was like, oh, fuck. I just got like basically dared to walk out there. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to walk out on the hot sand. So I take my shoes, I'm carrying them, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, it really fucking hurt. And I grew up in Australia, so I've walked on the hot pavement and things, and I was like, I can't let Gary Busey see me fail. So I'm walking all the way, and you know how fucking long that goddamn beach is. It goes forever, and I'm like, Frodo walking into the goddamn sun, and Gary Busey's like, cackling in the background. And I was like, I don't know if I won this day. And I fucking walked all the way to the beach and just put my lit feet on fire into the water.
Like Old Faithful steam geyser. Holy moly, that's a good Gary story.
That's good.
I'm still cackling in my head to this.
I've got to jump off because I'm meeting in 2 minutes from somebody who's on this call. So I got to jump. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Lisa.
Hi,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
I want to say I
Bye.
really appreciate your guys' time. Like 3 hours last night and another hour and a bit again today. I know your guys' time is very valuable, so that means a lot.
It's not valuable, but thank you.
Listen, I paid a lot of
time.
time for that NFT. Your time has value, let me tell you.
Well,
Thanks,
thank
Kyle.
you, thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
We're happy to be talking and not drawing, and listening. So
Yeah, we've been closing rooms for weeks, so we're like, oh, people, let's talk to other humans.
So who's got carpal tunnel? Who's got some sort of syndrome that is a result of too much animating or too much typing or too much writing?
My vote would probably be on Ash or Dan.
Yeah.
Thankfully, at the moment, no, but on long days it can happen. I don't know about you, Ash, but sometimes I'll get something here and I have to stretch, but it comes and goes. I'm fine at the moment though, thank God. So
yeah, I'm lucky. I had it way back, but like in the night around 2000, but not on this show. It's weird.
I think when you're doing more repetitive work in animation, like when I was starting out in the business, I was doing a lot of cleanup, and that would wreck my hand because you're just trying to draw like a really clean straight line, and I think that type of like repetitive nature would hurt more. But if you're breaking up your day between like typing and drawing, then it's less likely that you'll destroy yourself or you'll deteriorate slower basically from that process.
Do you guys think that work from home has helped that? I mean, personally, like I can just get up and walk and like Dan was saying, like do laundry, and even just that change in like physical, like not hunched over sort of thing, it's changed like all of my back issues that I had working in an office.
Yeah. Sit and stand desks a big deal. I recently got one about a year ago, and that thing is great. I mean, I end up standing most of the day now. So
yeah, I use mine when I'm like doing long edits or when I'm in a writing push. I'll do my standing desk and work there. But the lighting is better here for Zoom. So
yeah, I think working at home, you're right. Just cooking or walking the dog or anything, any little break within that, even if you're working long hours, if you have a little break in that hour, it's a big deal, I think, to avoid that.
When you can just like lay on a Swiss ball or stretch or whatever you need to do. Anytime I would do that in an office that I was working in, guaranteed that's the minute that some production coordinator would just walk in and be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Fucking laying on the floor, stretching my back out." That's what knocking was invented for. You just have like people coming and going all the time, because as soon as everyone's on a whim, and it's one of the things about being in an office. When I was editing The Grinch in Paris, it was in an Aston Martin car park converted into an animation studio, true story to this day. So it feels like you're going into a speakeasy, you go through this fucking car park, and you're just like, what? And this nondescript door opens up, and then you just go in, and then suddenly there's all this minion shit in there, and it's someone at the desk with bits and pieces. But it's just this cold car park. But like I was next to the break room, so the smoking room was there, and the kitchen's there, and there was another kitchen above me. So all I heard was like French people getting baguettes and scraping chairs and shit like that all the time. And anyone wanted anything at any time, they would bilingually come in and ask me for stuff. And my door was just like a revolving saloon door of people coming in. I'm like, great, yeah, I need to finish like the movie. And it was just constantly like tap on the shoulder, ask questions and bits and pieces. Whereas here, you can control, your meeting times. Everyone has to focus their questions into a specific thing, where you can mute your chat. So
yes, certainly less distraction for sure.
Yeah, editorial becomes like therapy because you have the couch for review in your edit suite. And so people just come in for this nice soft couch and then they end up like laying down and you're like, how does that make you feel? And it just ends up being this like chat forever. And you're like, so I'm gonna go back to work. But Mac, who did that? Did you do that?
Amazing.
Who did that? There's an image in the chat that is click at your own risk. But
Mac
I'll let them
definitely
speak
made
for
that.
themselves if they so choose to, but somebody on this call is better at Photoshop than I am. Also, it's 12:33 and I'm 3 minutes late, so I'm out.
All right.
Have fun.
Take care, Mac.
Thanks, Mac.
Thanks for the laughs, Mac. That was great.
Any other questions about the show? Not that we have to talk about the show.
I just want to do this again frame by frame. I want to like I want to go through all of the like nerd stuff that we've been doing on the Discord off of this is more of that frame by frame, sending screenshots and things that we're excited about. But I'd love to hear that input, like going through it. It's also hard to remember, like even the things that I want to say or share, like that I laughed at. Something just happened. Oh, I was watching it and they're like just the subtlest enough things that you would never think to tell somebody. But if you were watching it with me, you would see that Fifi says, I'm not a cat, and hangs up, and you would see somebody like me giggling. And without seeing that, you'd have no idea if anybody giggled. And I'm like, I giggled. I just wanted you to know, like, that made me giggle. And there's no way to do that in this digital form, and I wish there was. But yeah, there's a lot, from visual things to writing punchlines to little gags. And I would love to be a part of nerding out over every frame. And I did want to compliment, maybe this is a combination of Dan and Ghostbot, the addition, just so I think there's 3 of you on this call right now. Just so you 3 know, last night there was a very long nerd call, and all 3 of you were like, because of the humility of the 3 other creators who are on this call who don't like taking compliments, they were regularly like deferring to you 3 as like, oh, well, that's because Ghostbot was doing this. Well, you should really be like giving this to Dan. But there were multiple like step ups in quality, even from the what do you call it, the pilot, from the first episode to the second. Not in terms of like, oh, Ash sucked and now he's better, but in terms of like actual quality upgrades of going, we're going to add some new lighting, we're going to add some 3-dimensional movements that like you only saw like a little bit in the first one. And it really, I think the thing that I'm excited about is that it takes this whimsical style that is 2-dimensional, that is hand-drawn, and then it almost, like, all of those little additions let us as the audience know that's not because this is cheap. That's not because we just want still backgrounds and we want to have like things like puppets walking across the thing. We're not doing that because we're cheap or we don't like 3D or we're doing that because it's special. And there's like a handmade whimsical feeling to this. And all of those little extra things, from the lighting to even the sound design, to the beats and the edits and the 3-dimensional movements, is like, we did this style as a choice. And now you get to like go into that whimsical world with us. It doesn't go unnoticed, or maybe it does go unnoticed, but some people and a lot of people in this community do notice it. It's very exciting to be a part of calls like this where you're actually here. So,
well, it was cool for me to see the first time. And I haven't, when I was first asked, I reached out to Ash for work on it. And when I saw the first thing, and he says, I did this whole thing myself, I was like, what? This is crazy, it was awesome, and I liked how the color of the design and how he was doing the backgrounds in CG, and I hadn't really seen anyone do that before and blend those 2 things. And I was just really impressed with the high quality of the whole thing, and amazed that he did the first one himself. That was just like, wow, incredible. So anyway, I don't think I said that to Ash, but it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, we were so amazed that Ash did everything himself. We're like, what? This is insane. And it has such a charm. It's so charming and sweet. And I really do love the story that, like, there's this discussion about Alzheimer's about it. I think that's the thing, like, with a lot of cartoons that you watch now. I mean, they're great, but then sometimes it's just like joke after joke after joke. And this one was so sweet. It's funny, it's sweet, and it's just really special that way, because it does tell that story. Because a lot of times you don't see that. I think it's a lot of joke after joke after joke, and it gets numbing after a while. And so having that be part of the story is really wonderful. And then just the design, it's just so charming the way Ash created this universe. It's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And appreciate that you notice all the details. And I think it's a really great idea that maybe for our next call, we do all like the same gang, Ghostbot, Dan, we all join up and walk through it, and it will, as we go through every shot, it will remind us of some of the moments that we encountered as we made it. And we can do that live commentary. That's a great idea. So we'll schedule that with Christine Bardo and get that on the books.
Yeah, we appreciate you noticing, Curtis, as well. Like a lot of the time we unintentionally made some of the harder choices of how to make things, and it wasn't to try to be fancier to go like to now what you're doing. You know, I think in animation sometimes people do things like with the camera that you can't do in real life, which doesn't mean you should. It just ends up being like super floaty and super weird. But we wanted to, you know, bring a cinematic quality to it, and Ash really leveled up on the lighting and the camera and sort of just the way we're doing everything. And moving cameras is really hard to animate 2D to, because you have to track all of that in. And so we basically had to develop the shot how we wanted to do it in the context of the show, and then basically lock the camera off to animate it, and then reapply the animation to the moving camera. So just to give you an idea of like why people don't do moving cameras. In fact, there's usually a quota in animation of how many moving cameras you're allowed to do for rendering reasons and for complexity reasons. And we're trying to just do what feels right with disregard to complexity, to varying degrees of success. It ends up being harder on all of us. And sometimes we question why we're doing things the hard way. It's not to be a sucker for punishment. I'm actually traditionally a lazy person and will do the least amount of work however long, but it's also somewhat creative, not perfectionist, but you want it to be a right, you know, you want it to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, you keep doing the work. And so you're like, oh God, the two sides of the coin are fighting, the couch lazy asshole and the one who wants to keep going when I don't want to do anymore, kind of thing. But as a group, we always just, you know, keep going till it feels right, and do the harder version if necessary, more often than not, and the easy version if it ever comes up.
We like to walk on hot sand.
Yes. I
Be
think
like
so.
Gary Busey.
The story is starting to go noticed too, which we had such little in the pilot, but we're already starting to get you come for the something, you stay for the something. I'm in the tech world, and the comparison I was always to like the origins of Instagram. You come for the photo filters and you stay for the community. Now that's a terrible analogy ever since I acquired, but like that was the origins. And then the creative world, you come for the title stoner cats, and you stay for the story of an adoptive family taking care of their mom. It's very sweet. It's starting to come out.
Yeah, and the tone is pretty soft, and there's a subtleness to the family aspect, which I love. And there's also the comedic vibe and the sense of humor that I see. And I watch a lot of Rick and Morty, and I recently watched the episode for Arcane, and the whole dynamic of family is really important, especially during the pandemic. So this this episode 2 is much more like you get more of what Miss Stoner is with the way she lives with her 5, like the rest of her cats. So yeah, that's great.
What's the cool thing about you?
It's also
Sorry,
nice
yeah.
to imagine that if I died or got sick, my cats would really care about me and not just be waiting for me to be the next thing that they eat.
You never know.
Yeah, despite their seeming aloofness, I'm sure they care deeply. And if they could ever smoke Redbird,
They tell you. Yeah, one of the fun things about us moving forward is like the pilot, it was really hard to figure out how do we introduce these characters, how do we introduce the scenario, or how do we give everyone enough time for you to understand who they are in 6 minutes or whatever we had in there. It was really hard to sort of contract that down. And now as the episodes progress, we can get to focus on each of the characters a little bit more and start to tell the stories. And we have backstories written for each of them, how they got adopted, why their personalities are the way they are. Not all of it is going to be applicable for an episode, but it's all there to sort of learn over time. And that's the stuff as we're moving forward that we, are looking forward to sort of being able to naturally integrate into the content, while they get stoned and do dumb shit.
well, should we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Let everyone go on with living their lives.
Yeah. I mean, if there's when actual Snark wheat strain, yeah, we'd love to do that. There's laws.
Yeah, we touched on that yesterday in the live chat, the voice chat, but there's a lot of legality across state lines of being able to do that. So it's very specific, but we've not thought about it. Any final questions? Should we wrap it up?
Okay,
And
should
plan
I,
to do-
yeah, should I delete the giraffe balls part on the
No,
recording?
no, feature, can you spotlight giraffe balls? Because that needs to be the
Yeah,
thumbnail.
that could be the title of this call.
I'll just put that as our thumbnail on our YouTube channel.
That's what I was.
Yeah, just don't name it creators call. Just name it this
This is giraffe
balls
balls.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Discussion. Sweaty balls on the description.
hour and 15 minutes of giraffe balls.
Yeah, good
Actually, I
luck
was
whoever's
wondering
watching
if-
this video back.
If we can do a POAP of giraffe balls for this call.
So that, whoever is on this call will get that. Maybe I'll do that.
Giraffe balls POAP. Everyone's gonna be so jealous.
49 people.
I think Alec
49
Baldwin
lucky
could do the
winners.
voice. You know, he did the sweaty balls thing. He did
Alec Bowles one.
Exactly.
He's not actually super popular right now.
No,
That
I mean,
means
he
he'll be
did a job.
available. We'll just get an impersonator.
All right. Well, on that note, let's definitely do the DVD commentary. Down for that, and maybe we can do a call next week, just a holiday call, and just check in on our Stoner Cats fam. Do our own little cats friendsgiving, catsgiving.
Yeah, I would love to do that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sticking it out longer time
I
between
know it's a long
episodes.
wait.
Yeah, and hopefully it felt like it was worth it, and everyone got to have fun. We really appreciate the positive feedback, and you guys are just sort of are still here and still digging it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
We're
Well, have a
done
great
episode
day
here.
or night or wherever you may be, and get some sleep, Al.
Yeah.